Chapter 12 of our behavioral neuroscience textbook talked about regulation and behavior, so mainly sexual behavior, and segment 2, which included pages 378 to 386, first started talking about pheromones and how they guide reproductive behavior in many species. So when gonads produce steroid hormones to make gametes, they in turn communicate to the brain that the body is ready to mate. And this is what we mean when we say mating behavior is activated. And so pheromones are chemical signals that are released outside the body of an animal and communicate information with another member of the same species to help coordinate their reproductive activities. The vomeronasal organ is a collection of specialized receptor cells that detect these pheromones and send electrical signals to the olfactory bulb in the brain, which in turn the neurons in the bulb project to the medial amygdala, which depends on circulating sex steroids to maintain a masculine form and function, and the medial amygdala sends axons to the MPOA, which integrates hormonal and sensory information. So in many species, chemicals that are a part of the basic reproductive physiology have been co-opted to also serve as pheromones. And another point to make is that pheromones may also convey information between individuals of the same sex, not just the opposite. For example, during musk, which is the mating season of elephants, pubescent males secrete a pheromone liquid from glands on their temples that can attract bees and birds, male bees and birds. The next section under the heading of the hallmark of human sexual behavior is diversity, focuses more on the human sexual behavior. And so it brings up two important studies. The first one being Kinsey's study, who through surveys studied the sexual behavior of American males and females. And his study revealed that nearly all men masturbated. Many people had at one time had sex with a member of the same sex, and other sexual tendencies of the human race. And another study that the text brings up is the study by Masters and Johnson, who studied more specifics of actual rituals and techniques of sexual intercourse of humans. And the fact that we have different positions and often change these positions, they found, marks us different from animals who mainly have one position. We also have orgasms, which animals don't. And orgasms are the climax of sexual experience marked by extremely pleasurable sensations. And there are typically 4 stages of responses. The first being increasing excitement, the second one plateau, the third one orgasm, and the fourth and final resolution. And so during excitement, the phallus, or the penis or clitoris, is engorged with blood and it becomes erect. In women, the lubricating fluids are produced so that it makes things a little bit easier. And another major important discovery is that most men have an absolute refractory period in which they cannot achieve another erection and orgasm until some time passes, whereas most women don't have this period and can have multiple orgasms in rapid succession. And studies have also shown that sex drives are a little bit stronger in men and that emotional components more greatly affect women. That experience is shaped by socio-cultural pressures. Studies that have researched hormones also have revealed that hormones play only a permissive role in human sexual behavior. At least a little bit of testosterone must be in circulation to activate male typical mating behavior in both rodents and humans, and just a little testosterone is sufficient to restore behavior. And in some women after menopause, sexual dysfunction, i.e. a lowered sex drive, happens, probably because of hormonal changes, maybe lowered estrogen levels. And another question that's posed is, does drive levels change with menstrual cycles? The next major section of the text talks about how parental care of many vertebrates determines offspring survival. So in many species, copulation is not enough to ensure reproduction. So parental behavior is necessary for the survival of newly born vertebrates. And this involves behavior of the adult animals with the goal of enhancing the well-being of their own offspring, sometimes at the cost of themselves. And this tendency is especially true for altricial animals, which are animals born with an undeveloped motor and sensory system and thus depend on maternal care in their early years. Human infants would be an example of this. And then also the other kind of animals are precocial animals, which are born in a relatively undeveloped state and require parental investment for some things like food and protection, but require a little bit less maternal care than altricial animals. And so an example of maternal care would be rat mothers building nests, crouching over their pups, retrieving their pups, and nursing their pups. This is exclusively a mother rat behavior, but if virgin female or male rats are exposed to pup rats for several days, they will actually gradually start to exhibit this behavior as well. And the effect of hormones on a rat's maternal behaviors is demonstrated by a parabiotic or surgical preparation that joins two female rats to share a single blood supply so that they are exposed to secreted hormones of the other. So a non-pregnant female rat exposed to hormones of a pregnant rat will display maternal behavior through this process. And a final point to make from this section is that regions that control maternal behavior show considerable overlap with the circuitry for sexual behavior. So two key regions include the paraventricular nucleus and the MPOA. The next major section of the text is sexual differentiation, and this term refers to the process by which individuals develop either male or female bodies and behaviors. And this process begins before birth and continues into adulthood in mammals. So sex determination and sexual differentiation occur early in development. And sex determination is the process by which the initial decision is made for a fetus to develop either as a male or female. And this results from the fusion of an egg with an X chromosome from the mother with a sperm with either an X or Y. So the possible combinations are XX or XY, which correlate to female or male. And so the first step of determination is in the gonads, and humans born with indifferent gonads, which are the undifferentiated gonads of the early vertebrate fetus, which eventually turn into either testes or ovaries. Another key player or vocab term that we should know is the SRY gene, or which stands for sex-determining region on the Y chromosome. And so this gene on the Y chromosome is responsible for the development of the testes. So ovary forms in XX individuals, or if the SRY gene is defective, and thus no SRY protein is produced. So sexual differentiation is also in part directed by gonadal hormones. So the differentiation of the anatomical structures of males versus females is tied to differential hormone secretion. So the testes produce several hormones, and the fetal ovaries produce little hormone, and masculine characteristics form in tissues when exposed to testicular hormones, and when not exposed to these hormones, they develop feminine characteristics. And the embryonic stage, in the embryonic stage, all individuals have the precursor tissues of both systems. The early fetus has genital tubercle that can form either the clitoris or the penis, and two sets of ducts called the Wolffian ducts and the Mullerian ducts. And the Wolffian ducts develop into male structures of the epididymis, the vas deferens, and the seminal vesicles if the testes are present. And the Mullerian ducts develop into the female structures of the oviduct or fallopian tubes, the uterus, and inner vagina if the testes are not present. And so masculinization is driven by secretions of testosterone, which promotes the development of the Wolffian system, and anti-Mullerian hormone, which causes regression of the Mullerian system. And testosterone also masculinizes other non-Wolffian derived structures. So, for example, conversion into the more potent androgen dihydrotestosterone by the enzyme 5A reductase induces formation of the scrotum and penis. And so the final section just touches upon how changes in the sequence of sexual differentiation can result in predictable changes in development. And so it points to two kind of mutations that can cause Turner syndrome, which is the result of having only one X sex chromosome. And so no SRY gene is present, so the apparent female has underdeveloped ovaries as a result. And the congenital adrenal hyperplasia is a set of... The final section briefly touches upon different syndromes that may occur as a result of mutations and changes in the sequence of sexual differentiation. So Turner syndrome happens when there is only one single X chromosome, and so no SRY gene is present. So the apparent female has underdeveloped ovaries. They're recognizable, just underdeveloped. And the other syndrome is called congenital adrenal hyperplasia, And this can be a result of various genetic mutations that cause a developing female to be exposed to excess androgens before birth, which can result in a clitoris that is larger than typical.